Hey guys, and welcome back to another Free Plugin Friday. We look at free plugins you can use in your productions. Now today is going to be another very short one for two reasons. The first reason is my super powerful PC has decided to kind of kill itself and needs to be repaired. Power supply, graphics card is gone. I don't even know if the motherboard works, which is extremely excruciatingly painful. But what that means is I can't run music in the same way I usually do, so I'm kind of making this very short. The other reason is it seems that a lot of my under 15-minute videos get a lot more views, and you guys seem to like them a lot better, especially when it comes to the analog obsession stuff, so I'm going to just see if I can keep things a little bit more short and simple. So yeah, it's going to be a little different today, but we should be able to get it to work pretty well. So we are looking at Analog Obsession's new plugin, ReLife. I think this came out a couple of weeks ago, which is intended to bring life to your track. So what we're going to do is we're putting on this mix. Now this mix is from the Spectre Digital, I forget what it's called, Savage Grooves mix pack, basically, where you get a bunch of mixes. There's some lessons. I got the video version, to help you kind of mix, and it's going to be, people playing. It's going to be different to my own music as some kind of different reference. So I think that could work pretty well. But what we're going to do is put it on the stereo mix, and I've barely done anything to the actual individual tracks. I put a little bit of compression on the drum bus and the bass, added a little bit of reverb and a tiny bit of EQ on the guitars, on the lead guitars, not the rhythms, and that's about it. So we're making ReLife do all the work. So let's just listen to it dry, and then I'll talk about all the different functions of ReLife. So this is it by itself. Kind of get the idea. It is basically unmixed. Now this is not really what you'd use ReLife for completely. It's not just going to mix for you, but I think it's a very good way of showing how extreme it can go. I've been using these kind of plugins before on already mixed tracks, and the problem I find is it's easy to go too far really quickly because I've done half the work that they're already doing, all the work sometimes. So let's just have a look at the controls. So input control is gain compensated input, and there is dynamic kind of processing going on. There's other controls with dynamics, there's saturation going on, so the input is very important. Next is shape, and shape does most of the work. This is like a dynamic EQ curve. It basically scoops out the tone, and you'll see how powerful this can be. Then there's life, which I'm finding quite subtle. As you drive the input up, it becomes more obvious, but it is kind of saturation going on. It's meant to bring life to the track. Mix control and output control, which is great. So let's start off with the shape. We're going to keep the input at 0 dB, and when we come to the life, we'll move the input a bit more, I think. So let's have a look at shape. Let's turn it off for reference. It's 100% shape. So you can really hear shape does what I would do in a mix. It's going to scoop out some of that mud. It's going to add a little bit more air. It's going to tighten up and fill out that low end. Now, up full is kind of a little bit Metallica Black Album, very, very scooped. But around 4 to 5 is kind of, at least on this kind of material, is where I'd kind of use it. And yeah, it's doing so much work. Like I said, it's not really intended just do all the work for you, but definitely can get you there quick, especially if you just recorded something and you want to kind of show the client a little bit of a mix quickly without actually going through and mixing it. Very cool for that. So let's keep the shape at 5 and have a look at life. And now, like I said, with the input at 0, life can be really subtle. So we're going to turn it up and then we're going to mess with the input. Just a little bit of harmonics going on, a little bit of juice, I guess. Okay, let's change that input so you can really hear it crunch up. And now we're going to turn life back down so you can hear the difference in the saturation. There's still saturation without life. Listen to that low end. Of course, that's too far, so let's bring back the input to about here. Maybe bring back life a little bit. Now we've got basically the input up, we've got life going, and we've got shape. So let's turn it in and out. Listen to how kind of boring that snare sounds. And of course the guitars are really kind of muddy. Last, you have a mix control, and this means you can use the shape a little bit more, push the input a little bit more, and adjust the mix. Now, one thing to add about the input is it's also going to affect the shape because the shape is dynamic. So they kind of work together, but the saturation is kind of more obvious to my ears. So it's really going to be a bit of a balancing act. Depending on what you want to do. But the mix, yeah, like I said, the mix can bring it back. So let's crank up the shape, crank up the life. Let's give it a little bit more kind of extremeness. I like how the guitar sounds, to be honest. I could add this to the guitar bus like this. Maybe dial a little bit of high end, but it's not harsh. So let's dial back that mix. Output up a little bit. So let's bring the input back a little bit because those cymbals are starting to get a bit harsh. Let's just listen to the drums. Listen to the drums. What about the bass only? It's not affecting the bass as much. Bit of a scoop going on. Guitars, rhythms. Again, because it's dynamic, when you put it on a stereo bus like this and put everything on it, it is going to act differently than on the individual sources. But I kind of just wanted to show quickly what it'd sound like if you just put it on the buses. But let's do one last listen. Off. Turn it on as the lead guitar comes in. So that has been ReLife by Analog Obsession. One last thing I should mention, as with a lot of the newer Analog Obsession plugins, if you hit that, it turns oversampling on. Now, the reason I kept oversampling off is because when you switch between bypass and on, you are getting the latency changes, which gives you a little bit of silence. Happens with all plugins that add latency. And the problem with that is it's harder to compare. It's kind of tricks your brain a little bit and you don't really get that A-B comparison as well. So that's why I kept it off. And we're not doing enough distortion to really get high into the aliasing territory, but it's always great to have oversampling. So yeah, that has been ReLife. Thanks for watching. Go check out Analog Obsession. As always with their plugins, it's a Patreon, but you don't have to join the Patreon to download. But if you like the plugins, even for just $5 a month, it really helps keep these kind of companies in development because they come out with so many great plugins. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.